My mother and I came to America when I was about 8.5 years of age. Where I was born, there wasn't much infrastructure. There weren't even paved roads or anything. We didn't have a refrigerator. I never heard of television. You're talking about the early 50s. And when I came to America, it was shock value. And I remember turning on a television set. Actually, I didn't turn it on. I didn't know how to work it. My Aunt Magda turned on TV, and I thought it was a box with a window, and then a face came on it. I thought there was a guy in the box. In those days, it was black and white. It was a small screen, but a large piece of furniture, 6 feet long. And one of the first images I saw was a guy flying through the air in a colorful outfit with a cape, and I was transfixed. I just didn't know what to make of it. And in short order, I started hearing radio. We didn't have a radio. And I heard just something like rock and roll music, any old, I heard Chuck Berry and Little Richard and everything. Ironically, half a century later, I'd be doing the eulogy at Chuck Berry's funeral. How ironic. But the first music I heard pre-Beatles was black music. That's what moved me. Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Fats Domino, that stuff, which of course all the white groups copied. The Beatles, the Stones, everybody else. And that was the DNA for that music, which just swept the world. And then when I saw the Beatles on TV, on the Ed Sullivan Show, it was what scientists call a singularity. It was just like all of a sudden time stood still. Here were these semi-feminine looking small human beings, all looked like they came from the same Beatle mother, and singing in harmony, playing their own instruments and stuff. My mind was blown. I was used to seeing American bands where there'd be 4 or 5 singers. Vito and the Salutations. That was a real band. And there were singers, there were 3, 4, 5 guys singing harmony, usually with a lead singer, but the band was in the background. Here, all of a sudden, was a band that played their own instruments, wrote their own songs, and all looked the same, almost like they had a Beatle mother. I didn't know what to make of it, but I noticed the audience was filled with screaming, screeching girls, just going out of their minds. And I thought, it's kind of a good job. I think I'll take a look at that thing. And over the years, it worked. In fact, at the very beginning, when the first bands I was in, the Long Island Sounds and the Missing Links and Cathedral and all these bands, I didn't even play an instrument at that point. I was just the singer, or one of them. And because the British invasion was in full swing, I admit it, if you talk like that, I was putting on a fake accent. Of course, the chicks, they all, and it's been like that ever since. But I didn't realize that at some point I'd find a band with Paul Stanley, where we'd be wearing more makeup and higher heels than you ever wore. I was always trying to fit in. I felt like an outsider. I talk like this with clipped vowels because my first languages were Hebrew, Hungarian, Turkish, Spanish in those days. And since forgotten Turkish completely, I can understand a little Spanish, but fluent in Hebrew, Hungarian, and then German, and even a little Japanese and English. But I always tried to fit in. I had to figure out, how am I going to be successful? What's my place? And of course, it all goes back to, at that age, how do you get the girls to like you? And I strongly suspect if I was going to announce to all the female population, straight females, I'm going to be a dentist or a plumber. Not much action. Oh, a dentist? Yeah, baby. No, it's something about that thing of being in a band. And so even back to the school days, 6th, 7th grade, I had little bands that played the school dances, and the chicks would gather around. And then very shortly after that, these little home bands started to get paid. And I always worked. I worked at a butcher shop and newspaper deliveries and all kinds of stuff that 13 and 14-year-old kids do. And I noticed I was making multiple times more money being in a band, having a good time and chasing skirt than I ever did actually working for a living. So it's great work if you can get it. This American music art form, which continues to rule the world, it was started by America's slaves, the unfortunate African-American slaves that were brought here. And blues begat jazz and hip-hop and rock and roll and all the various popular forms, all came from black music. It's fascinating. And then I became an Anglophile. I liked what the English did with America's music. They did it much better than the Americans. I mean, the English gave us the Beatles. We gave them the Grateful Dead. It's not the same thing. Now all the Dead fans are going, what are you talking about? We are the only band that's a brand. I love Radiohead, one of my favorite bands, but the last thing I want to do is to buy a Tom York comic book or a Radiohead casket, which is no reflection on their music. It's just bands are not, Springsteen and all that. There's nothing I want to buy with their images on it. Something about Kiss, well, let's say we've put out over 10,000 licensed and merchandised products, everything from Kiss condoms to Kiss caskets. We'll get you coming and we'll get you going. The thing about rock and roll, which unfortunately isn't used as much, but it is all that. It became self-conscious and it became rock, heavy metal. It's all guitars and drums. It's rock and roll, no matter how you do it. Yeah, yes, prog rock. No, it's rock and roll. It's just more complex. These are all fancy titles. And the thing about it is the freedom. If you play Tchaikovsky or Liszt or Chopin, or Mozart or Beethoven, you dare not veer from every written note. It's classical music, the most respected form, and you try to reproduce exactly what the writer did. In rock, no rules. In fact, all of us can't read or write music to this day. I've written a few hundred songs. Can't read or write music, but I've come up with songs. By the way, that includes Elvis and the Beatles and Hendrix and the Stones. None of them could read or write music. Somehow, they came up with lyrics and melodies that people responded to. That's the magic of it, unlike any other form. And by the way, rock and roll isn't just a noun and a pronoun, but it became a verb. See that guy over there? I'm going to do the nouns. That guy's a rock star. Talking about Clinton or whoever. That lawyer is a rock star. And then when it's time to move, let's rock, right? And when you're at a rally or something, hey, rock on, You can't go country and western on. Hey, that guy's a hip-hop star. So what? No, only rock has that gravitas. All of the rockers are misfits. In fact, there was a band called the Misfits, a punk rock band. Yeah, they were all misfits. There was only one Elvis who was born with those godlike looks. The rest of us, if we didn't grow our hair and put on a guitar around our shoulders, we'd be asking the next person in line, would you like some fries with that? The chicks would ignore us. Something about the guitar and being in a band, I mean, the term itself means sex, coming from black terminology. Let me rock and roll you all night long. It's an actual lyric. Might have been Ledbetter. It's the actual title of the genre of music means sex. No matter what the foibles and problems and racist tendencies of America, it's magic land. This is where Alice went through the looking glass and came out in Wonderland, because America is Wonderland. You like talking on the phone? It was invented here. You like television stuff? Yeah, it was invented here. Just anything you can imagine. 24-hour life was invented here by people who came from all walks of life. If you go to Japan, everybody's Japanese. If you go to Sweden, everybody's like the Eloy from the Time Machine. Everybody's blonde and, that kind of look, which is great. When you come to America, it's black, white, purple, Martians, anything goes. It's a microcosm of Earth. And out of that comes greatness. The music, all the various forms, jazz came from our black population, right? And the scientists and, the Jewish population and everybody contributes to this thing called America. And there is only one place that has an American dream. You can't be in France go, that French dream. It doesn't even sound right. The things that happen in America can happen anywhere in the world. It's just that the culture is more welcoming. There's more flexibility here. It really comes down to Europe, which created classical music and all that stuff, purely a white man's art form. Neither good nor bad, it just is. The painters, Rembrandt and also, they're all white people doing white art, which is concerned with good taste. And America just gives a fuck if it tastes good. There's a profound difference. Only we could invent McDonald's, and Pizza Hut and all that, which rules the planet. Rules the planet. I like fish and chips, but I can't find a single fish and chips shop anywhere. It really begins with the writers, the creative people. I have to say, nobody can touch Lennon and McCartney. Nobody. The vast number of unbelievable songs that they came up with in under 7 years is really astonishing. And the Beatles, unlike almost anybody else in music history, wrote what I refer to as perfect songs. Here, a perfect song is McCartney walks in and says, I've got a song. Oh, yeah, what is it called? It's called Yesterday. Well, how's it go? Yesterday. I go, what? There's no drums intro, there's no riff or anything. You go right into it. I got another one. What is it called? Penny Lane. How's it go? Penny Lane. There. And Hey Jude and Lennon McCartney together. She Loves You. Yeah, like right at the top. Lennon, too, comes in with, I got one called Help. How's it go? Help. I need somebody. What? Try writing one of those. It's the hardest thing in the world. Hey Jude even starts off before the band comes in. It's called On the One. So it's 1, 2, 3, hey, and then the band comes in on Jude. Jude. But when he says hey, part of the Hey Jude, he's by himself. It's just the vocal. It's stunningly brilliant. And Yesterday is a perfect song because of yesterday, and it ends with, because I believe in yesterday. It ends with the same word. There's only one other song I can think of that goes way back to the last century that was written by perhaps the most iconic comedian, Charlie Chaplin, with the funny walk, who directed, produced, acted, did everything, creative genius. He actually co-wrote a song called Smile. And it goes, smile, though your heart is aching. Boom! And then, when you just smile. Wow. Now, it bears noting, additionally, there's something called a pregnant pause. Here's what I mean. Smile, pause, though your heart is aching. So the title is by itself, Yesterday, pause. All my troubles seem so far away. And that's genius. Most of us, I can't think of another band that had so many perfect songs. And some of our biggest iconic singers, performers, Elvis. Elvis never wrote a song in his life. Whitney Houston, it was just, they're performers and singers. But America had Tin Pan Alley, Carole King and Jerry Goffin King and all these great teams of writers who had to write, the Monkees need 10 songs. Everybody sit down and write hits. All those hits you heard in the 50s and 60s were written by Jews. They were all Jewish. They wrote all these songs. She wore an itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot. Yeah. Neil Sedaka and his partner, yeah. It's amazing. I need a song for the Drifters. What kind of song? Sing about the city. On Broadway. They need another song. Okay, Under the Boardwalk. Unbelievable. They were like... Most people don't know that the original classical European musicians were told, that includes the painters, were told they were commercial. They were told what to write. Mozart, I need a 3-minute piano concerto. It's called chamber music. Why? Because the royals would have the music in their chamber, and I need it for only 3 minutes. So you had to compose something linear, as it turns out, because he was a genius. Exactly that. And whether it's Michelangelo, the Pope's coming here, I want the finger to go like this, and they were told what to paint and what to compose. They were jingle artists and commercial artists. They just happened to be the best in the world. So I don't see a negativity of commercial or anything. There is only the American ideal of the people, for the people, by the people. The critics mean nothing. The people will decide what they like. So some of the biggest bands in the world, the critics never got. You know, Chicago had 22 multi-platinum albums in a row. The Ramones get much more credibility. They have 1 gold record. Never played big arenas, nothing. 1. So who decides who's cool and who's not? It's the people. They're the favorite kids, Rock and Roll All Night, I Was Made for Loving You, that stuff. But personally, I wrote a song called We Are One for a much later album off of Psycho Circus. That might be my favorite. Everywhere I go, everyone I see, and I see my face looking back at me, this kind of corny hippie lyric, but I love the song. And it came to me, I promise you, pretty much in my dream. When I first heard McCartney talking about, and I couldn't shine his shoes, first heard McCartney how he wrote Yesterday. He woke up with the melody, ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da, you know, the whole thing in his mind. And he thought, oh, surely this must be a song that was out there and I'm just humming it, you know, in my mind. So he walked around and asked people. They said, no, I've never heard that melody. So he sat down and started writing Scrambled Eggs. That was the name of the original lyric for Yesterday. And then he changed it, of course. These things are magic. I don't know where they come from. It's just kind of up there. Versus painting, which is real. You know, you can put a brush stroke and then you can kind of see it taking shape. Architecture, you start drawing it and do music. I don't know. It's just starts in your mind where it comes from. But it makes people happy. John Philip Sousa song. You know, it makes you immediately want to go. Funeral songs. People get married to songs, some of our songs. And names of songs. Our fans name their girls Beth and Christine after our songs. It's a weird thing. America used to sign all kinds of acts, all kinds of music, and give them a short record release pattern. I'll sign you for an album, I'll sign you for 4, and so on. And then they'd leave the artists to do their stuff. The record industries are dead. Why? Because the fans killed it. Not some corporate head or whatever. Fans got used to downloading and file sharing for free or next to it. So new artists will never get the chance that I got. Imagine a supermarket where the doors are open and you can just walk in and walk out with a quart of milk and fruit. How long will that supermarket stay in business? More than that, how long will the trucks that bring the produce stay in business? How long will the farmer that grows the produce and the eggs and all, how long will he stay in business if people don't get paid for what they do? So my daughter, Sophie, is closing in on 2 billion downloads. You know, in my day, with that kind of money, you should be able to buy Vermont. But no, it's just, you know, a few tens of thousands, nothing. Likewise, Paul's son and my son, Nick and Adam, have a band called Stanley Simmons, and they're making a lot of noise. They write their own songs and all that. Really great. But the road to fame And fortune is going to be much harder now because when you put a record out, who buys it? There's only Taylor Swift, and you should log on and see Taylor Swift and her band in Kiss makeup. That's a hoot. Rap has a record-buying audience, country, but not rock. They're used to downloading and file sharing, even pop stuff. So we need legislation. There's a minimum wage, right? People get an hourly guaranteed wage. You have more rights working at McDonald's than being a writer of songs. There's no minimum wage. Corporate can decide that you get a song and you put it on there, you can have 1 billion downloads and make only a few $1,000s. Somebody decided that, not the artists, which is why I appeared at the behest of the United States Senate to push through a bill to help artists make some goddamn money for a chance. The idea that we're being put into the Songwriters Hall of Fame is insane because you got Gershwin brothers in there and you've got, all the greats. It's a great honor, but I don't delude myself. And I believe other writers think the same way. Again, the American dream. You have the Hollywood Star Walk of Fame, Kennedy Center honors, and all kinds of awards. I don't remember all the things. And now the Songwriters Hall of Fame. It's insane. In a very real way, popular music, rock and roll, even rap or whatever, it's modern classical music. In the Renaissance, which was correctly pronounced Renaissance, the French word, the popular songs were these classical musicians. And then, of course, folk stuff, those kind of Irish jig things. But without music, this would be a very sad world. I just wanted to say, from my heart, it was a pleasure to talk to me